of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Geisler,
Here.
Councilor Mayor Boucher,
Here.
Councilor Jelly,
Here.
Councilor LeBlanc.
Here. Announcements. Do any councilors have announcements they'd like to make this evening? No. We have no public hearing. Communications are listed. Mr. Mulder, could you just give us a short summary of the explanation of the presentations we had at pre-agenda?
So we started with Kevin Orm, the Director of Finance and Administration, just gave you a report on the first quarter in terms of how we were doing for the expenses related to budgets. We also gave you a report on kind of the cost of road improvement plan for the first 5 years of the financial management plan, and then what we have scheduled for the next 5 years and just how that is being paid for. And then we also had a presentation on the ice arena. The big question kind of there was we could expand to the east or expand to the west. The general consensus is at this point is expanding to the west. So the architects are going to start doing planning for that direction.
Thank you. Public discussion. This is the item, time for general public discussion about items not on the agenda. We ask that you limit your time to 3 minutes per person. There will be a later time for public discussion on each agenda item that's voted on. If there's any public input, please state your name and address. Joe, is anyone online? Any public input that anyone would like to give to the council of a general nature, please start with your name and address. Last opportunity for public discussion under the general public discussion. Next is the consent agenda, which contains the minutes for the previous city council meeting and accounts payable. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Jelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor LeBlanc. Roll call. Sorry.
Councilor Geisler.
Aye.
Councilor Jelly.
Aye.
Councilor LeBlanc.
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. We have no ordinances this evening. Resolutions. Resolution 2023-53. Resolution approving preliminary plat of Peyton Acres Phase 2A and imposing conditions on the final plat. Is there a motion?
All motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Geisler. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor LeBlanc. Mr. Mulder.
So this is a preliminary plat of Peyton Acres. I'll let Eric talk about this. You're gonna let me do this? I'll let
You were doing great. I'll pull it from here, John. You've got enough.
I'm clerking.
No, you've got enough duties. Exactly. Oh, well, thank you. This is the fourth phase of the overall Peyton Acres development. It's 13 lots with 2 outlots. Outlot A is for stormwater purposes, and the B is for the future phase moving forward at another date. Utilities will be connecting the dots essentially from the east to the west, as well as the roadway, which will be connecting Peyton Drive to Oak Ridge Drive down in the southeast corner. Each one of these lots are a minimum of ½ acre in size, and there will be an interior sidewalk system, which will connect into the sidewalk work that runs into Stebner Road.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? With none, is there any public comment on this resolution? Is there any public comment on resolution 2023-53? Is there any public comment on the resolution approving the preliminary plat of Peyton Acres, Phase 2A? With no public comment or discussion, I'd ask for a roll call.
Councilor Jelly.
Aye.
Councilor LeBlanc.
Aye.
Councilor Geisler.
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-54, resolution approving a special use permit for the construction of a two-family home in an R3 residential zone district. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor Jelly, second by Counselor Geisler. Mr. Mulder, would you like Mr. Johnson to handle this?
Yes, please.
Great, thank you again. This is a two-family home application for a special use permit. It's an existing 1.7 acre lot that corresponds with 5068 West Arrowhead Road. There's currently an existing single-family home on this property that will be removed prior to the two-family home being constructed. The new two-family home will meet all the setbacks associated with the two-family home. It's a greater than a 1 acre lot, greater than 40 feet of setback on the side yards, as well as 50 feet in the front and 40 in the rear. This property or this new structure will be accessed by existing driveway that's in place today via an easement that it shares with the property to the south, which is 5078. There's an existing shoreland ordinance on this, or shoreline overlay, which will be discussed at the next resolution.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Is there any public input on this resolution? Is there any public input or comment on resolution 2023-54? Is there any public input on the approval of a special use permit? Roll call, please.
Counselor LeBlanc,
Aye.
Counselor Geisler. Aye. Counselor Jelly,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-55. Resolution approving a special use permit for grading and filling within a recreational shoreland overlay area. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Counselor Jelly, second by Counselor LeBlanc. We have Mr. Johnson go for this one again?
Yes, please.
Great, thank you again. As I mentioned in the previous resolution, there is a shoreland area associated on this 5068 property. There's an unnamed tributary that runs just to the north and east of this proposed structure. This is a recreational shoreland area. It has a 600-foot wide shoreland area associated with it. That's 300 feet on both sides of that waterway. And then it also has a minimum of 100 feet of building setback associated with it. The proposed two-family home that was just voted on is approximately 200 feet away from this water course, so it greatly exceeds that 100-foot minimum. There's going to be approximately 2,700 square feet of land disturbance associated with this new twin home area, since it's generally happening in this location that the existing home is at right now. As part of the SUP, they have little higher levels of requirements, the particular one being that really want to minimize the amount of exposed soil associated on the site just for water quality.
Thank you. Any council's questions or comments? Is there any public input on resolution 2023-55? Is there any public input on this resolution? Last opportunity for public input on the resolution approving a special use permit for grading and filling within a shoreland overlay area. Roll call, please.
Counselor Geisler.
Aye.
Counselor Jelly,
Aye.
Counselor LeBlanc,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-56. Resolution adopting the Hermantown Business Park Alternative Urban Area-Wide Review, AUAR, scoping document and authorizing publication of the AUAR scoping document with the Minnesota Minnesota Environmental Quality Board. Do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor Geisler. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Jelly. Mr. Mulder, is this another one for Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Great, thank you. This is one of the steps in the overall AUAR process associated with the Hermantown Business Park located at the intersection of Ugstad Road and Highway 53. This is technically known as a large specific project scoping document. What it does is it dials into the environmental basically aspects of the property. It looks at areas such as soils, wetlands, topography, presence of wells, and then looks at other city based aspects such as zoning. The reason that this is another step in this AUAR process is the size of this project. It's 120 acres in size and approximately 942,000 square feet of potential buildings. Assuming this passes at council this evening, staff would then work with the EQB, that's the Environmental Quality Board, on the May 15th publication. There'd be a 30-day review period by the public to offer up comments. The city will also post a link to this review on our city's website as well. After the 30 days, the city will have 15 days to address any public comments, and then at that point, adopt a final order of review. So this will be back in front of the city council, probably that first week of, or first or second meeting of July.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments from council? With none, is there any public input on this resolution? Is there any public input on resolution 2023-56? Is there any public input on this resolution? Roll call, please.
Counselor Jelly,
Aye.
Counselor Blah,
Aye.
Counselor Geisler,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-57. Resolution authorizing the disposal of surplus city property, a used police car as a trade-in. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor LeBlanc. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Geisler. Mr. Mulder?
I jokingly said I was going to have Eric discuss this one, but I will. So this is just, we're getting rid of a squad car. This is the standard process that we use to do that. This was part of a trade-in when we bought one of the new ones.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? With none, is there any public input on this resolution? Is there any public input on resolution 2023-57? Is there any public input on the disposal of a surplus squad car? Roll call, please.
Counselor LeBlanc,
Aye.
Counselor Geisler,
Aye.
Counselor Jelly,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-58, resolution of the city of Hermantown, Minnesota, providing for the sale of $1,600,000 general obligation improvement bonds, series 2023A. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor Geisler. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor LeBlanc. Mr. Mulder, do we have someone online that's going to?
Yeah, Todd Hagan, our municipal advisor for bonding from Ellers is online. So we'll let Todd explain this.
Sure. Thank you, John, and councilors and mayor. Todd Hagan from Ellers and Associates from Roseville. So thanks a lot for having me online tonight. I've got a couple more meetings, so this makes it very efficient. So yeah, I've been working with Kevin on sizing this bond issue. It's for street and utility improvements for the city in 2023. We're at $1.6 million, but it's a $2.65 million project. So there's a little over $1.1 million of grants and revenues from stormwater and water and sanitary sewer. So it's a lot of cash going into the bond issue to bring it down to $1.6 million. So in front of you tonight is a pre-sale report that we sort of kick off the bond sale by having you approve the terms and conditions, and sets forth kind of the path that we're going to take to issue the bond. So tonight is the pre-sale report. And then we are going to come back on June 5th to tabulate the bids and present the results of sale again on June 5th, and we'll close it up on June 22. So in between there, we'll get a bond rating from Standard & Poor's. You've done this before. Hopefully we'll maintain our wonderful AA rating, and that should carry a very high quality bond issue out into the market and get lots of bids. So not much supply out there, lots of demand. So we're hoping for a lot of attention. come June 5th for the bond issue. So it's a 15-year bond is what you typically issue here in Hermantown, and it kind of correlates with 15 years of special assessments that help pays for the bond. And then the remaining is coming from a property tax levy. I think it fits within your financial management plan and utility studies and all of that. So it's a pretty straightforward bond issue. It's what Hermantown issues every once in a while. So we're happy to help where we can on this bond issue. Other than that, you folks can take a look at this pre-sale report. If you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, we've I think covered all the bases on this, shook the tree, and have a nice bond issue here with a relatively small amount of debt for the city of Hermantown. So I'll yield to the council if you have any questions or comments for me.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from council?
I just want to clarify, earlier we were talking about 20-year commitment on these bonds. Todd had just said 15 on this one. Is that?
Yeah, so this is probably a little bit shorter than we normally would because of the assessment process.
Okay.
Yep, the bond term typically matches the assessment term. Kind of like it a little shorter too, because it's not, it's a relatively small bond issue. If it was in the 2 million to 3 million, the 20-year would sell pretty well, but it's nice that it, as we have a little lesser amount of bonds that the term shortens up a little bit. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Is there any public input on this resolution? Is there any public input on resolution 2023-58? Any public input on the sale of general obligation bonds? Roll call, please.
Councillor Geisler,
Aye.
Councillor Jelly,
Aye.
Councillor LeBlanc,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-59. Resolution authorizing and directing mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver agreement between the Minnesota Department of Transportation and the city of Hermantown for federal participation in construction. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Jelly, second by Counselor Geisler. Mr. Mulder.
This is a standard agreement that we have with MnDOT when we have federal money on a road project. We did this on Stebner Road. The federal dollars will go to the state of Minnesota and then they go to us. So it kind of is a pass through and they help manage the federal process.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Hearing none, is there any public input on this resolution? Any public input on resolution 2023-59? Is there anyone that wishes to comment on the resolution with authorizing the agreement between the city and the Minnesota Department of Transportation? Roll call, please.
Councillor Jelly,
Aye.
Councillor LeBlanc,
Aye.
Councillor Geisler,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-60. Resolution authorizing and directing mayor and city clerk to execute an acceptance of permanent easement agreement and temporary easement agreement to the city of Hermantown from Elite Incorporated and waiving costs and assessments. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor LeBlanc. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Jelly. Mr. Mulder.
So as part of the reconstruction of Lindgren Road, we needed right-of-way easements from Minnesota Power. So they have granted that easement. They're going to relocate some of their utilities, which we'll have to pay for. And then we're going to waive the assessment in exchange for that easement.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Is there any public input on this resolution? Is there any public input on resolution 2023-60? So final opportunity for public input on the resolution in front of the council at this time. Roll call, please.
Counselor LeBlanc,
Aye.
Counselor Geisler,
Aye.
Counselor Jelly,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Item 13, closed session. We need a motion to close the meeting of the Hermantown City Council pursuant to state statute section 13D.05 subdivision 3C 3 to develop and consider an offer or counteroffer for the transfer of real property with the Hermantown School District within the city of Hermantown. Following the closed session, the Hermantown City Council will reconvene in open session. Do we have a motion?
Motion to go to closed session.
Motion by Counselor Geisler. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor LeBlanc. All in favor, say